Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Munir Lazouzi from easymedicaldevice.com. And today we will not talk about EU MDR, but we will talk about a process that is existing in the US for the registration of your medical devices. So when we are talking about registration of medical devices in the US, I'm always inviting Michelle Lott. So Michelle, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Hi, Munir. It's good to be back.
Yeah, great. So thank you for being here. And the idea of today is mainly to talk about a process related to the registration of products in the US. Last times we were talking about 510K, about de novo, about other processes or PMA that were existing. And now we'll talk about a new process, or it's not new, but it's a process that is kind of famous since the last year, which is the Emergency Use Authorization, which is EUA. And I wanted you to help us to understand that. But before that, for people that don't know you, can you please make a small introduction of yourself?
Yep. So I'm Michelle Lott. I own Lean REQA, and we specialize in helping startups and small to mid-sized companies get their products from early concept development all the way through their regulatory pathway and into commercialization with a proper quality management system.
So great. And you are not helping only for US, you are also helping for EU or for other regions, is correct?
Yep. We do US, EU, Canada, Australia, and we help with coordinate registrations from there.
Great. So if anybody needs some help, don't hesitate to contact Michelle. That really, I'm also contacting her each time I have a request for the US. So don't hesitate there. Okay, so let's now kick off this topic about emergency use authorization. So can we just first explain to people that don't know this process what it is exactly? What is a EUA, if I can say, process or a pathway for registration?
Yep. So the EUA stands for Emergency Use Authorization, and in the United States, Congress and the Health and Human Services have to declare basically a state of emergency. And it has very specific criteria that it has to meet to be declared as such. And then they from there, they move product by product to determine exactly what products do they need during the emergency use to help us make it through the pandemic.
So it's not the same each time. It depends really of the current situation of the situation at a certain state. Because we talked about that, as I said, it started to be famous since last year because of the coronavirus, because there was a lot of things that were kind of on the list to say masks or respirators or whatever that has to be there, and they can go through this pathway. So does it mean that the list can change? So it means that some products can be removed from this list and some products can be added. So it's like that? Correct.
Yep.
And you say it's Congress who is deciding? It's like voted by the Congress?
Congress in addition to the Health and Human Services, so the HHS, which is the parent organization that the FDA is also a part of.
And so I suppose that since last year you had a lot of kind of demand for emergency use authorization. So what is now, after 1 year doing that, so what is your feedback about this process? What is your maybe experience about it?
Well, I guarantee you, Munir, what I think the general public thinks is an emergency versus what the FDA thinks is an emergency and what our shortages are two totally different things.
Okay.
I have worked on several technologies that were lower risk alternatives to some devices that are on the emergency use. And in early conversations with the FDA, I was being told very bizarre things like for a ventilator breathing assist, like instead of getting on a ventilator, this is like an alternative technology, so you don't need to get on a ventilator. The FDA told me that they were unaware of a continuing lack of access to ventilators, and that, if there's an area of the country that still has a shortage of ventilators, they can just fly the people to other areas of the country. Isn't that crazy?
Okay. Yes,
who's going to pay for that? You know?
Yeah, just buying or having additional equipments at the place where people are is maybe the best way to do that. But yeah, flying people are also kind of, there is some risk for doing that. So it's mainly also something crazy. Yeah, I never heard about that before. So interesting to have that.
Yep. And I also did a technology for, the ECMO. So the ECMO is underneath the EUA here, and it has its own guidance document, and it specifically opens with the FDA is aware of a shortage of ECMO devices. So I was working on this device under EUA, and they said, hey, this is really novel. We like it. We want you to consider, we want you to do a breakthrough. So I'm thinking, oh, this is great. If FDA is telling me, do this under a breakthrough, we want to partner with you here. So I did the breakthrough, and they came back and they only asked 2 questions. So again, I'm thinking this is a good sign.
Okay.
And then they denied the breakthrough, saying that they were unaware of a lack of access to ECMO. And I'm like, you have a guidance document that starts out saying there's a lack of access to ECMO.
But can you just clarify or tell more about breakthrough, because it's also another thing. So is it different from the EUA, this?
Yes, so breakthrough is a fairly new pathway with the FDA under which that they intend to help partner with companies to bring new or novel technologies that meet an unmet need or are lower risk alternatives to other technologies.
And if I remember on this process, the FDA is really helping you, guiding you, working with you for that. Because I read that on the FDA website, and mainly it says here are the process, and FDA will be really with you all along this process. So it's strange that at the end they stop your, if I can say, process when they were with you helping you for that.
Right. Yeah, and the whole point of the breakthrough is, like you said, it's the FDA becomes a collaborator with you. And it's supposed to be a way where you still have to go through the normal channels of a submission, like you still have to do a de novo or whatever the appropriate submission is. But they are less formal in their communication. They so like you don't have to do formal pre-subs, or if you do, they expedite them, move them through. They talk to you more informally. They collaborate on endpoints for clinical trials. And then at the end, when your product gets clearance, if you have a breakthrough, they make the FDA themselves makes a press release that says, hey, we partnered with company XYZ and we helped them bring this important technology to market.
Okay, so this is 2 different things related to emergency use authorization and then breakthrough, which is more for new technologies. So at the end, it's nearly the same. It's accelerate. So both are trying to help you to arrive on the market quicker. So it's really that to pass some barriers, to kind of not follow the pathway that everybody's following because of the nature of your product. So are they kind of, can we consider that like similar or not?
Well, the emergency use authorization, of course, it's only for a period of time. And when we're no longer an emergency, you can no longer market those devices. Okay. You have to bring them to market during either a 510K or a de novo.
So it means that you are going through this EUA, and then they are authorizing you to sell these products. It's sold maybe for 1, 2, 3, 4 months. And when this emergency like coronavirus is stopped, those products that are on the market since maybe 6 months now have to stop to be placed on the market until you get the normal pathway, 510K or de novo or whatever. Correct. Is that correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, I suppose that if you use that during 6 months, they were safe and performant. I suppose, I don't know, maybe there is some other consideration, but I suppose this is a proof that they are safe and performant, no?
Well, it's this whole risk reward. Like, what is the the risk of us not having access to these devices at all versus the types of adverse events that could be created.
Okay.
But those manufacturers, so it's a lot of business risk, actually, if you think you're going to do just a product for the EUA, because the FDA could repeal the EUAs at any time once they determine that we no longer meet the state of emergency. And so then you would have to just stop. So in my opinion, anybody that wants to go through this EUA process, you need to be doing all the testing and getting ready to do your submission as normal if you intend to keep selling your product. Okay,
no, I think it's a great point here, just for people to be ready, so to not think that because they pass the EUA, they are good, they can sell the products for many years. So they have to be ready for the next step also. When you say people that are can use this process, so who are those people? So is it reserved to US companies, or it can be also from foreign companies that can also get through this emergency use authorization?
Yeah, it can be US or EU, any foreign company is eligible as well. I will tell you that I have also heard from the FDA in some of the conversations that their intent was really to get foreign manufacturers who had clearance in other regulatory jurisdictions but had not yet brought their product to the US, that their intent was to get those people, that they really didn't intend the EUA to bring new or novel technologies. They were really going for existing manufacturers with cleared technologies.
Okay, because from my experience with people that were trying to go through EUA, there were a lot of people that were new manufacturers that see an opportunity here to sell their face mask or to sell their products to the US because of this emergency situation, and they were not long-term, if I can say, long-time manufacturers. They were opportunists, if I can say, coming and doing that. So, yes. Do they make this kind of check about how long the company was running? Is it a new company or this kind of thing, or as it's an emergency, they accept everybody and they try to just be making, if I can say, this situation better for them?
No, and I think that the way that they changed the EUAs, because they definitely are reflective of the FDA trying to demonstrate that they really did intend more mature companies, again, that already had clearance, because in their mind, the new manufacturers that are new to medical devices and new to manufacturing in general, that is in and of itself inherently risky.
Okay.
Because people have underestimated what it means to be a medical device manufacturer. So there are 13 EUA templates, and that have been changed 11 times.
Okay.
In just right around a year. There are 28 guidance documents for the EUA that have been changed 17 times.
Wow.
All to clarify, and they're not getting easier. They're getting more complex, more data, more requirements, more levels of a quality management system, because the FDA saw that bar was so low early on. So now some of the EUAs are complex, or just as complex as doing a 510K.
But so you were working on that. I suppose it was a nightmare for you. You were learning how to do it, and then you had to learn again and to learn again and to learn again and to learn. I suppose this was really a nightmare for you, and customers coming to you to say, yes, I have done 10 EUA, but the 11th one will be as difficult as the first one because it's a new regulation, a new guidance, and new everything. So yeah. I suppose it was really tough for you.
Oh, Monir, I thought I was going to have to be institutionalized this time last year, because as soon as particularly for the masks, that changed a half dozen times in as many weeks. It was like every week, every other week, they either changed had a webinar where they clarified, well, what we really meant. And now if you want to be on the EUA list for surgical masks, you have to turn in all of the same testing that you do for a 510K, except for one single test.
Okay.
I mean, biocompatibility, everything.
So the file, if I can say, the file that you have to provide for a UA, do you consider it now, as of today, the same as the file that you are providing for a 510K with the same kind of content, or it's easier to go to a UA for now?
At least for surgical masks, I wouldn't fool with the EUA anymore. I would just get a 510K for a number of reasons. You know, you already have to do all the same testing. Technically, the EUA is a shorter template to fill out, but it's taking a long period of time to get through the EUA when you could just get your 510K clearance. And then I've also seen that for my customers, their customers want 510K cleared product, not EUA product.
And as you said, you have to do it then twice. If you do the EUA, as soon as you finish, you have still to go back to the normal pathway for placing your device on the market. So in that case, it's not, I mean, if I understand well, it's not an emergency use authorization anymore. I mean, it's not, you are not going through an emergency anymore. It's like you are going through the same pathway. So there is no kind of advantage maybe for people to follow that again. But you said to me it takes longer. So how long does it take usually when you place your application for EUA? So how long does it take for getting an approval for that?
The EUA for the surgical masks takes 10 to 12 weeks.
Weeks?
Weeks.
Okay.
And a 510K takes about 90 days, so 3 months. So you're looking at, it's really not taking much longer to get through the 510K program. And then you can permanently sell your product in the, pandemic or not.
No, I think it's go for the 510K. And I suppose it will be easier for you to find also an equivalent product, substantially equivalent products in the market. There is so much product now on the market that you can easily say, yeah, my mask is the same as this one or this one or this one, which makes your file okay. And I suppose it's also a so well-known kind of products that the 510K will be between one company and the other will be nearly similar. And then companies or reviewers will have to, we can review that quickly because they have seen so many masks, they have seen so many files that they say, okay, it's nearly the same for each of them, so it's fine. We can move forward. So I think maybe don't use EUA anymore. Is there a list somewhere on the FDA website where it says these are the products that can still go through a EUA?
Yes. So every product that has been authorized, so I think those 13 templates, each one of those has got its own landing page on the FDA website that has the list of companies for each one of those products that have been authorized.
So so each time you are authorized, then you go through this web page and your name will be there with your product, with everything. So me as a customer or as maybe somebody that will be distributing those kind of products, I can go on this page, find my product and say, okay, my product has been cleared by the FDA. It's not like a product that entered the US fraudulently and it's not really authorized to be there.
Right. And they have a list of not only the companies that have been legitimately authorized, but they also have list of companies who have been deauthorized.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So deauthorized for which reason? Because of some issues or?
Yep. Product quality. And especially for the products that were coming in from overseas, the FDA is sampling them before they get released from customs. And they have found, like, for a lot of the respirators that were claiming, 98, 99% filtration, some of them were as low as in the 20s, 30s, 40s.
Yeah, we see that also in Europe. I suppose the same for COVID-19 tests. There were a lot maybe of false positive or negative, or I don't know how to say, but things that are not really coherent with the reality. I remember in Spain, there was some COVID-19 tests that made everybody like negative to COVID when they were positive. So it was not like a good situation there. So yeah, I suppose a lot of things can arrive like that, but they are deauthorized until they solve the situation, or they are deauthorized and they will never be able to again to make this application.
That's probably going to depend on what they were deauthorized for. But I would think that they would probably have to go through a 510K and turn in their full test data to be able to get back in FDA's good graces.
Okay.
How are things working in the EU, Monir?
What?
How are things working in the EU?
So in the EU, mainly what we have is that each country decide by itself if they are accepting kind of this kind of emergency registration of products. They are at the beginning of the crisis. It was the same as the US. So you have to build a small file. It was not like a huge file. You have to send that to the authorities, and then they accept to have your products on the market or not. But you were also saying that while the product is on the market, you are doing all the work to make this product CE marked. So it's not like that you are just waiting that your product is sold, etc. No, you are testifying to say, while my product is starting to be on the market, I'm certifying that I will contact a notified body, I will create a quality management system, I will create a technical file, I will do all that so that my product will be, if I can say, approved as everything on the market. The only issue is normally in the EU, as soon as a product is authorized in one member state, then it can be sold in the other member states. So this is mainly the kind of rule. So this is something that we are asking ourselves, oh, if it's authorized in the Netherlands, can I have this product also in France? Can I have this product in Germany? And there was a lot of situation like that because as we said, so it's not like the United States. You have to have each country that authorize certain products. And it depends also on the situation in the country. If they need more face masks, respirators, or they need more COVID-19 tests, etc. So it was mainly like that. The thing is also that we know about the last year about the situation that normally we had to implement the new UMDR last year, but because of coronavirus, the situation, we have to postpone that of 1 year. And this helped, if I can say, maybe some manufacturers that were already EUMDD to continue to sell their products without any disruption. But this was mainly the situation. But I think every country had this kind of emergency authorization things. One thing I wanted to ask you also, because I think here we have got really a good information about what it is, how to use that, etc. Did this change with the new president, so Joe Biden? Was there any change of this policy related to the coronavirus, to the products that are authorized or this kind of thing? Was there any change related to that?
So when Trump was leaving office, he tried to put through a lot of changes to the Federal Register and how FDA regulated certain products. And so one of the first things that Biden did was stop everything that hadn't been officially published.
Oh, really?
Yep. And required it to go through an administrative review for was it appropriate or not, the changes that were being proposed.
So it's like stopping everything to say, let's review again what we have already approved. Is it correct?
Or things that had not yet been approved,
okay.
Finalized, so that they were in kind of this pending state. And unfortunately, one of the ones that managed to get formally published and released in what's called the Federal Register here was a proposal to down classify like 90 devices, most of which were moderate to semi-high risk devices, and make them to where if they stayed class 2, but not required a 510K, or down classify them from a class 2 to a class 1, again, and exempt the 510K.
So this was mainly to make it easier for those products to enter the market?
Yes. And some of the devices, it was kind of scary. Like there were catheters that go in the interstitial space between your brain, in between your brain and your skull.
Yeah.
On what planet should that not require a 510K or, some sort of government oversight? All kinds of cancer diagnostic, antimicrobial surgical masks. So there was just, so that one got officially published in the Federal Register, but I led a massive campaign on LinkedIn and got my colleagues here to put comments in on the Federal Register. And then because the FDA and HHS have to, before they finalize a rule, have to go through all the comments one by one and acknowledge them and respond to them. And I think 40 some odd people followed through with my LinkedIn post, or no, 40 people commented, and 35 of them were from my campaign.
I remember because I think I was one of them, because I think we discussed about that. I remember you sent me some documents to comment and everything, and I have done that, but I hope, yeah. So did it help or?
Yeah, it was withdrawn.
I thought, so then it's fine.
It worked.
Yeah.
Democracy in action.
No, I think it's great. So then I think it's really great because mainly at one point we have some politics, if I can say, that are trying to put in place some thinking. They think about this or that, but maybe they don't have really a clear understanding of what is really on the market, what's this for, the risk that we can have. So yeah, happy that this kind of initiative is really placed and works. It looks like Switzerland. In Switzerland, we have a lot of initiatives like that. We have always to vote and to vote and to vote. So it looks like people are listening now to the population. So it's great. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think we really covered the emergency use authorization. So the conclusion apparently is it's not worth anymore to go through that. Because it takes more time, it's more complicated, and at the end, if you follow the 510K, it will be fine. If you are a class 1, I suppose that you have no 510K, so then you can just place the product on the market without that. So, I mean, do you still recommend that?
But again, you have to be committed. You got to build it out. Even for class 1 products, you got to build out a full quality management system. You've got to register and list with the FDA, and which means you can be inspected by the FDA. So, my biggest advice is to making medical devices is a very serious endeavor and commitment. And if you're doing it, like you said, to just be an opportunist and to take advantage of the marketing opportunities in the pandemic, I think that you're going to introduce more harm than help. Yeah,
no, I agree with you. And it's mainly what we have to understand here is that, as I'm always saying, maybe on the surgery room, maybe with the hospital, etc., that will be your family, your husband, your children, your parents, etc. there. So think, do you want these products to be placed on your parents or on your children or husband? So it's really something that you have to think about before you say, yes, I will do what I'm thinking I'm doing. So which is great. Okay, so really thank you, Michelle. I think we covered everything. I hope, then people will really understand what is this emergency use authorization in the US, when to use that, why to use that, and if it will be worth for them to do it. And I hope, if there is any question, so that maybe people can come directly to you and to ask you if there is any support that you can provide for this kind of support, for this kind of pathway. Okay, so anything else from your side?
Hold on just 1 second here. We are at T-minus 34 days.
Yeah. I've started something because we are the 26th of April also, so we are 1 month now from the EU MDR. I will try to do now from this episode when it will arrive. Normally I will have done a lot of videos, so I will do 1 minute video with 1 tips per day. so that to provide some tips for people. So I have now made a list of all the kind of tips that I can provide within 1 minute, but 1 minute is not enough to say everything. So I will try really to do that, but I hope it will be helpful for people. But yeah, we are close to it. I don't know. I will maybe be still surprised if they say, oh, we'll postpone it again of 1 year. I suppose they will not do that. But yeah, from last year, it can happen. We know that it can happen. So, but for now, there is no mention at all. There is no discussion at all about a postponement of the EU MDR date of application. So we are now ready for it. And I hope, everybody will be ready for that. So what is again your hashtag so that people can follow?
Hashtag MDR is still coming.
Yeah, MDR is still coming, exactly. So go on LinkedIn, tap hashtag MDR is still coming, and you will see all the publication that Michel Lott is doing about this. Okay, Michel, so it was really a pleasure to have you today, and I hope this will be really helpful for people. So for people that are on the YouTube channel, so please don't forget to place a comment if you have any comment about this, or if you have any question, I will send that to Michel. Don't forget to place a like also. And for those that are on the platform, the podcast platform, you can also place your comments there directly there. And if I can, I will try to answer to that or to send that to Michel. Okay, so Michel, really thank you for your help. Thank you for your support, and I wish you a nice day.
Bye, Manu.
Bye.